get. There we are. Hello, everybody. How's it going? It's Alexander Williamson here. Of course, you know that. Welcome, everybody. Tonight, we are going to be doing the exciting, I think it's exciting. I always like doing it, but we are doing the trend show. So this show will be about, I've done a lot of research over the last month or so, but we'll be looking at what the newest trends in the hobby are going to be. Hold on. There we go. All right. I think there probably was another audio. I don't know if you could hear it or not. But in any case, I think we're good to go now. Let me know if you can hear me all right and everything. I'm set up in the fish room, so I've got the mic here and everything, but it's set up a little differently. And, you know, the other thing, I'm coming a little earlier in the night. My wife got her vaccination update, or, you know, like the booster thing, and she was not feeling well. She came home from work early and stuff. So I want to hang out with her and be with her. So it's just better if I do it now. She's taking a nap, and then I can, yeah. So in any case, sorry for the change in time, but I'm glad that y'all are here. Oh, right on. Congrats to Rico Stan and Stephen P 2003. They both hit 1,000 subscribers tonight, so that's exciting. Hopefully they'll be monetized shortly as well. That's really cool. Congrats, guys. So yeah. Now, the other news going on is nothing too out of the ordinary or anything, but I just wanted to thank everybody for their purchases and so forth from Aquatic Arts. Helps out the channel, helps out Aquatic Arts, obviously. But I'm hoping with these new trends that we're going to be discussing, and I'm kind of getting that, I'm getting those pulled up right now, that that they'll be carrying some of this stuff, hopefully. So I can work with them hand in hand and also, get these things to come to fruition, essentially, even if they're not a thing yet. So that's kind of a neat position that we're in right now. I know there's other live streamers going on, but I'm just trying to kind of sneak in at a time too, where we're not trampling over Father Fish too much. And I think Aquarium Co-op may still be going, or Maple Street Aquatics, I think, is over now. But I just wanted to not trample anybody's spot too much. But in any case, I don't think Aquarium Co-op, I don't think I'm too much competition for them. So hopefully, if you want to be here, you're here, and you found me. Hey, Mary, what's going on? Craig, what's going on? Atkins Nature Aquariums. Dee Dee's Fish Den. Hey, Dee Dee. It's Lexi saying, what's up, see? I Hate Stupid People. What's up? Metalheads Aquatic Mayhem. Glitch, what's up? How are you, my dear? Jennifer, hello. Screaming Fly. Yellowstone Aquatics, hello. Your Average Fish Keeper, and we've got Craig, Collaborations of Curiosity. We got all sorts of good folks rolling in. Dragon Lair. Yeah, right on, guys. So, what do I think are going to be the trends? Am I just making this up? No. Yeah, I Hate Stupid People. You just commented that the Aquarium Co-op chat is for members only. Yeah, and so yeah, that's true. I understand why he does that, because there's so many people now. And there's still like 800 people watching, even since he does that. But it makes chat more manageable. But at the same time, when you're watching, it's like if you have a question, you kind of would rather go to a channel where you can actually talk to people. So hopefully I'm a channel where you can still get a question in. And, you know, I thought about doing some members only chat stuff for channel members. And I kind of decided against it for that reason. It's like, until it becomes really crazy unmanageable, let's just keep it democratic. And if you like the stuff, hopefully you can support it. If you don't have to be here, that kind of thing. But the trend report is it's something special in the sense that I've done it for 5 years now on YouTube, and I've gotten it pretty good. I've gotten it pretty right. I hope. I mean, I'm going to be a little full of myself, but I've called it pretty good. I pay attention to, what's happening in the fish world. I have a lot of friends who own fish stores or who are in the supply chain, who are in the import or export even business, and who are in the YouTube business. And let's face it, YouTube, big box stores and local fish stores, plus say Amazonas Magazine and things like that. Those are a lot of the places that kind of shape what's going to be hot. Also, you can kind of just sense it after a while when you've been in an industry for a while and, worked in a store or been on the internet in a group pretty active. So, yeah, feel free to go back and check out my old trends. Believe it or not, there was a time when we were in the vast minority talking about nano tanks. Like, it was a weird thing. Like, Rachel O'Leary, me, and Lucas, and maybe a few other folks, were the people who even kept them. So other than that, it was more of a side note. So the other thing is, let's see here. Mary, what did you just say? I saw something that you mentioned. Where did it go? Oh, right. Yeah, you've been watching Malik's Fish Room or Aquatics. Yeah, I want to check out him more. I actually saw him via Vice Magazine's little video on his fish room, and it looks interesting. He looks interesting, sounds well informed. But it's funny because, like, the fish room they showed, they're like, oh my gosh, this is a crazy man surrounded by fish, and it's his hustle to make money. He's got tanks, and they surround him in the room or in his house. And to me, I was just laughing because if you guys, obviously, you all know YouTubers, and maybe you yourself, lots of people have these crazy fish rooms, and it's just funny. Like, they could have done a little more research and found some crazy one. I'm glad they found him, but I mean, there are people like Lucas Bretz, for instance, who has got like 400 aquariums. So it's amazing what folks do. Let's see here. So the CS effect, welcome. Also, Mr. Gromby, Mick, what's going on? How are you guys doing? Well, thank you, Glitch, saying, for what I pay for membership, it does not compare to what I learn watching you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I hope that continues and all that. Master Aquatics, Eduardo, what's going on? All right. So let's see here. Why is this not? Oh, there we go. Yeah, his plecos. He has some of the zebra plecos that are just beautiful, incredible fish. All right, so let's get into the trends. I was gonna say the other place I check trends is a report that comes out annually, and I may or may not have access to it through a friend who I can't name, but it's a $5,000 report, and it's a report that big companies like, Petco, PetSmart, whatever, San Francisco brine shrimp, they pay for this report, and it tells them how many units were sold last year, the last 5 years. It's got graphs of every kind of frozen food and what the sales look like in which states. And I mean, it's a very thorough report that's about 800 pages and a lot of graphs. And it's put together by a think tank that specializes in that. And it's kind of the gold standard. And actually, after the epidemic started, they had to remake the perspective, or whatever you want to call it, prospectus that they had for the next 2 years. And it usually comes out every year. There's like a supplemental, and then every 2 years there's a big one that's like 1,200 pages. So the big one came out this year again, and I have seen it. So let's spill the beans and what you should supposedly be paying $5,000 to find out. So right off the bat, one of the biggest things is we are trying to emulate Europe and catch up to Europe. And essentially, they want to do a lot of what you see in the German hobby. And let me just pull this up real quick. This is another thing that I'm really hoping Aquatic Arts, I just sent them actually the species names and the info on them and everything. I just sent it to them because I thought these were so cool. But let's make this full screen. So these snails here, these are a newly found source from the Philippines of nearite snail, and clearly they're a little different than the usual ones. You can see the variants. I mean, there's kind of like this one and that one are the same. That one and that one and that one are the same species, whereas that's actually an older species that we've had in the hobby. But in any case, they're kind of cool. They're these nano nearites that are no bigger than 2 centimeters across, or 2/3 of an inch at full growth. And they come in a lot of different patterns. There's some that have this kind of like avocado texture, and some that look like a strawberry or something. And they're just really cool. And they're only 99 cents, or euros, basically. So I think, oh wait, sorry guys, you guys probably didn't see that zoom in, but I zoomed in here with the strawberry one. They're 99 cents a euro. So again, here is a big old collection of them. And these are something that are right now pretty popular. They're gaining popularity, as are crayfish and more small species of crayfish. So you'll be seeing more and more of those. The other thing that Aquatic Arts is already doing, and that I think is going to be a continuation, but it's going to be coming the next few years. So these are those raccoon caridina shrimp that I got right here on the far right. They're not a listed species yet, even. Like, they don't even have a name as to what their Latin name is. But they are really a kind of cool little shrimp. They're pretty sensitive still, but we're working on getting, water additives, whereas if you start with RO water, you're gonna succeed, like, no matter what. If you can go buy 5 of the 99-cent jugs of water at Walgreens or CVS or your local corner store, even if you had to do that and you didn't want to buy an RO unit, even if you wanted to spend $5, you could have a little 5-gallon aquarium with these shrimp now because of the additives. So we're going to also be seeing more of the all-in-one additives, such as shrimp remineralizer. Like, let me show you this real quick. And of course I don't have it because I went through it yesterday. But I had a remineralizer where it was like a little bottle like this, where you add, and it has all the right mix for caridina. So for Taiwan bee, Tokyo, bee or tie bee and bee shrimps. It had everything they needed, and you just added a capful per gallon or whatever, you know, a drop per gallon. And I think those are going to be really popular. The other thing that I think that I know is going to continue to be popular are all the supplements, because we're finding, I mean, Bacter AE was one that came out probably 4 years ago at mainstream. You could start finding it. And it's gotten, the sales on it in that sales report just continue to mount. And they are showing that, you know, it's stuff like that, stuff like the snowflakes, which this stuff is an Aquatic Arts brand, but there's plenty of other ones by Glass Garter. What are they called? I need to get their name right. They're a German company. Well, there's a few different companies, but there's one here that's Kinder Aqua Waffen. I don't know what that is. But there are various companies out there, I mean, that are owned. A lot of them have parent companies anyways. They're getting bought up. And the thing is that a lot of times they're distributed by companies that have nothing to do with the actual company that's producing the stuff. The other thing is my hair is, sorry guys, I'm going to have to fix this because it's bugging me on the screen of having my hair stick up like a loose straggler, just sticking straight up in the air like I'm Pebbles, Bam Bam. Which one is it? One of those Flintstones kids. So let me just fix that real quick. No, I'm not going to get a copyright strike. I don't have, especially because I don't have a problem with them. I'm not talking crap about them at all. But so the other thing that, you know, pollen granules. But essentially the trend that we're seeing, if you extrapolate from this, if you look at the products that were selling last year and the year before, there's this trend of basically taking it back to nature and providing more food sources that are the actual food source of the creatures. And in your nature aquarium, so whether it's a 40-gallon breeder that is, you know, a rim with a lid and it's got the American dollar per gallon sale type, you know, like the one right here, that style setup, and you've just got it planted with Aquasoil, or whether it's a Wallstead tank, or whether it's just a small nano aquascape tank where you have shrimp and you have you know, interesting little nano fish. Either way, any of those styles, pretty much anything other than the plastic plant, neon rocks, glow fish looking, or the sterile breeder's tank where you get glass bottom kind of thing, pretty much any kind of tank other than that is going to be a receptive market to anything that's either a water enhancer. So there's going to be more of these water enhancers coming out where you just add it and it turns into black water. Now, those products exist currently. They're very niche. Some are small enough that they're just local to a few states or maybe one country in the EU or something. But we're going to start to see the big box stores coming out with versions of that and versions of all these various shrimp foods and you know, guppy foods. And the other thing that we're going to see more of are the brands where you see them listed as we're actually learning a lot about the color enhancement. So a lot of people who have aquariums right now, they put their nutrients and they have their you know, their once a day pump or their once a week all in one, or they're using the estimated index. So they're using fertilizers and they've got root tabs or CO2, the people who are really into it. Well, those people definitely will want stuff like this. But even more so, I think there's a case to be made that the people who have a Wallstead tank, or the people who have a set it and forget it kind of nature tank that's well stocked but really full of plants, you want to feed the best things possible. And now we know that, you know, the anthocyanins, that calcium and omega 3s, omega 6s, feeding over 50% protein. And then, you know, you have other things like in here, lycopene, which is a carotene. You have, I mean, so we're already seeing these things in the fish food industry. When it says color enhancer, it's usually lycopene or cayenne or turmeric or something like that that they're throwing in. But there's a whole host of these building blocks. And if we want, we can actually add about 6 chemicals that cover all the pigments that are made. It's just most places haven't bothered to source those chemicals, like the anthocyanins, like the carotenoids. They don't want to go find the athaptascan or the xanthan or the lycopene on its own. They'd rather get tomato puree or tomato flake, you know, sun-dried tomatoes, and use the skin of that to source the lycopene. I don't know if it's like an ingredient thing or a cost thing, but basically my point is that now with the chemistry, we have the science, we have the papers that tells you, you know, what causes each color in most fish, and for that matter, in a lot of plants. So now it's a matter of just making it taste good. And there's going to be different companies that play with that in this market. What's going on, Chubbs? What's going on, Lady Diane? Hold on, I'm just reading this. CS Effect, I'll just throw it on the screen. Alex, if you're not sponsored by products shown on YouTube and you shout them out on a stream, they will cancel you, brother. You're not sponsored. This cancel culture is, yeah, no, dude, it's, I'm not worried about it. But thanks for the concern. That, and I do work with Aquatic Arts. I mean, they do sponsor my stuff. I don't, these other places don't sponsor me, but I'm telling you guys, we're going to be seeing more of this. It doesn't matter if it's by Fluval Bug Bites or if someone else. We're going to be seeing more of that. The other thing that Europe's been doing now for a few years that I think's awesome, I go into Aquarium Co-op and they do this. Aquarium Zen in Seattle also does it to some degree with the black worms that they have on stock. But basically, the other thing is live food. So while you can go out and you can buy the pollen granules, the snowflakes, the lollipops for shrimp, all these various ways. You know, right now they're finding that there's a lot of money in the psychology of how we interact with our fish, our shrimp, our snails, whatever it is we're keeping. The act of us wanting them to have variation in their diet because we want variation in our diet, or because it seems like we're caring more when we give them a little bit of this or that. The truth may be that some of these animals have evolved to eat the same thing day in, day out. It doesn't matter, and it's diatom algae or whatever it may be. So some creatures, this will be a good thing. I think it's a good option that that's out there in the market. But at the same time, I also think that it's a little bit of a opportunistic grab at people who care about their fish. I mean, like bettas, yes, you could get them some high protein foods, but no, nothing's going to be cooler to them than a live, you know, bloodworm, blackworm, caddisfly, or brine shrimp for that matter, Daphnia. That's always going to be the what takes the cake. And so I think that the other thing we will see is more of the live food in a bag distributed by one person, one company, with some additives to make them last longer. So right now, what does that look like? Well, you know, we've got the refrigerated or frozen section in a lot of aquarium shops. Now I think we're going to see at the front desk live brine shrimp. And that is a high turnover, high death item, but it's dirt cheap if you do it in a big facility. It's easy. And you could give out portions yay big, a liter, 8 ounces, whatever you wanted. And it makes sense. It could be a treat for people, or in big cities, especially, you know, dense cities like Seattle, New York, San Francisco, Miami. You get a fish store where people in the neighborhood walk and come in, and it's no big deal, but they want an excuse to have people come in once a week or every few days or whatever, so that you come in and you interact and maybe you buy other things. But the fact of coming in and buying live food is going to be a more common thing. I'm not saying it's going to be everywhere. Don't think it'll be in the big box stores a ton. Although we are seeing a lot more with reptiles. And the thing that I hope we start to see the big sources or stores producing are more of like, this is a micro culture of parameciums. So this, I got this down in Oregon when I was down there. But this is something that very easily you could actually get going and sell, you know, $10, $5. I'd happily pay that for a white worm culture or a vinegar eel culture or something like that. So I think that will be, very popular and coming. I mean, this is another product that I've seen lately. At both Petco, PetSmart has a version, but they're fruit flies without wings, and they've got a little media in here, and the media is kind of like a high protein and high carbohydrate and starchy stuff, and then they crawl out of there. The eggs hatch, and then they turn into little mealworm type maggots, basically. And you can feed those if your fish are real aggressive, like bettas will eat them. But really, what you do is you wait for them to form the cocoon on the side of the little container, and then within a week or two, rounds of fruit flies hatch, and they've been genetically modified so they have no wings. So you just put them on the top of the water, and like my half beaks go insane for them. That has caused my half beaks to spawn probably twice as often as before. So let's see here. Y'all, thanks Rico Stan and Buddy. Congratulations. I heard you made it. I heard you crossed the finish line. You dun 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 dun. I hope you know what I was doing there, and it didn't look like a stroke. But congratulations, brother, and thank you for the super chat. It means a lot to me. It lets me buy props like these. Thanks. All right, and same to Stephen P. 2003 too. The hardest working man in show business. Dee Dee, you crack me up. By the way, watch Ladies Night when you get a chance. It's always got either Dee Dee or Salt Lake City Aquatics, Susan, and sometimes Mary, or hey, there's Stephen P. right there. Congrats, brother. So happy you got the 1K. You got it, then YouTube taketh away. Yeah, that'll happen. Hey, what's up, Alyssa? How's it going? I know, I was watching that video too. Hey, Simple Jack, welcome. Oh, that's inappropriate. I'm not going to read it out loud, but I will put it on the screen for a sec. And maybe, yeah. All right. So, what's up, Donnie? How's it going? All right, we got lots of people strolling in. They must have let the loony bin out, huh? So we're going on and forward. So we've mentioned already the live the water conditioner. So this is basically enzymes that encourage bacteria growth. You can also just take a stick that hasn't been soaked yet, and it will produce a very similar effect to this stuff, honestly. You can also put like a baker's yeast type yeast culture. Now, don't go to the store and put baker's yeast in your aquarium. There's a chance you'll ferment it and make acid, and then you'll accidentally crash your tank. But the natural yeasts in our environment, there's different strains do different things, and a lot of those strains create biofilms, and they are part of the protoplasm or the goo that holds everything together, like the other life forms that live in there that hold the protein that your fish and shrimp and other things are eating. And so we're going to see more of those black water, white water, salt water. In the saltwater industry, they've already begun to sell all sorts of rotifers and little plankton in a bottle. And the same will happen for our freshwater hobby. In fact, I don't want to announce anything too soon, but I'm really hoping that so I'm really hoping that working with Aquatic Arts, and if not them, perhaps a couple other people I've been speaking with. But what I want to do is I want to talk to the transshippers in other nations like Nigeria or the Central African Republic or who knows, Indonesian government on Sulawesi, and ask the transshippers to simply get a 5-gallon bucket, take it to a swamp or a lake where they catch fish, and put that bucket in the water, scoop it full of mulm and icky stuff, then take a net and also try to catch as many little bugs and worms and nematodes as possible. Put it in the bucket, put some air holes in it, mail it overnight, and then put it in a 150-gallon tote and start culturing it, put plants in there, put real substrates in there that would be accurate to wherever it is we're harvesting, and actually start getting the Daphnia, the seed shrimp, the amoebas, and the gut bacteria, the fungi, the flora of these places. And then people could order a liter or a pint of it, and literally it would be the quick start for their aquarium, essentially, for it being a seasoned aquarium, but not only seasoned, but for a specific biome. I think that's the ultimate place we're going to get to in our hobby for the high-end, the niche market of that, or niche, but I don't know if it'll be in the next year, maybe a little farther out than that, but it's something I'm committed to keep working on, trying to sort out also, that I would love to have, because I would love to have a starter where you can have actual Orinoco Delta, whatever it is, bacteria, and the thing, we're finding now in low pH systems that it's not just the bacteria, there's not just nitrobacter and nitrobacillus. We're seeing also that there are archaeobacteria and that there are yeasts that are fermenting as they eat the living debris, the biomass that's in the aquarium. They're fermenting it and creating nitric or boric acid a lot of times, or sulfuric acid, or whatever it may be. But there's so much more to these systems, and some of these hard to spawn fish, like bleeding heart tetras, for instance, it may very well have something to do with their gut bacteria, or a lot of puffers and things. So I think those are there is a group that will want them. It's just a matter of how much people want them and how much they will pay for them. So the other thing that we're going to see more of is cheaper CO2 regulators and valves, air stones, probably more more things too, like electrolysis machines that create little air bubbles. Basically, they just run an electrical current between two plates, and yes, it can heat up the water, but it also, what it does is it rips the molecules apart into their pure oxygen, and then that quickly reforms into O2, and it can theoretically supply more O2 to your tank. There's a lot of what ifs about those systems. They haven't been scientifically proven to be completely effective, honestly. But yeah, interesting thing. Oh, yeah, Mick, that's a good point. The wingless fly was genetically manufactured by research industry for experiments and testing. Now it's also used in the terrarium for feeding frogs and other animals. 100%, Mick. And the other thing that's actually on my list of items that we are probably going to see in the hobby are lab mutated color strains of fish. So a few years ago, there was a strain of zebra danios that got out of, I don't know if it was University of Washington or Johns Hopkins, but there was a medical system that was specifically, they'd spent all this money to get that jellyfish protein, like in glowfish, but a different type, into the DNA of the Danio raro, or Devaro raro, or zebra danio. And because of that, they can then take a UV light, turn that on, and it lets them see things like cancer cells and other things that they've activated to turn on with that protein marker. But right now in Seattle, we have a bunch of axolotls that are neon green, that actually are, they already look like that, and are in the hobby kind of. It's hard to know if it's accidental or if somebody did it maliciously, or if it was totally just the company who invented the thing wanted to double down, and that's that. But it happened, and so now we're finding more of those things. The other thing that we're seeing a lot more of is chimeras, or color morphs of things that are induced by genetic what do you want to call it? Well, we'll just call it genetic modification. But basically, you can take the DNA of two different species and cram it into the same animal, and it's like a two twins living in the same body, essentially. But you'll start to see some of the wild and zany stuff that comes out when you do that. Now, the other thing that's going to be popular in the next coming year and couple years, that looks exactly like a Muppet, by the way. Look at that. It looks like the old guys that laugh from the Muppets. But it's a stink bug. So the other thing that's going to be very big are more shrimp. And I think Siloaceae is going to be the biggest contributor. We're also going to see more of these Babaltis. So this is one Babalti. This is the neon green Babalti, which also comes in orange. And then these ones here with the finer stripes and the little dots all over their body, these guys here, they're another Babalti. So these are Indian all the way over to Iraq and the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt. But here's a picture by the Shrimp King, Chris Lukop, as you know, from his Instagram. But this is German company already selling these, and they have been for 5-6 years now. But we're seeing things other than just Malawa and the cardinal Siloaceae shrimp. This is a wild morph of a Siloaceae shrimp. There are also, let's see here, other Siloaceaes like this one. There's the blue one. There's the ninja one. This one turns blood red and then back. So we're seeing these shrimp. See, this one is different than just a neocaridina or a blue jade or anything like that. It actually has different spikes on its rostrum here. It has short antennae. See how short those are? And its eye is actually gray with a black dot in it. And it's the number of legs, armor, everything's actually different slightly on that one compared to a neocaridina there, neocaridina there, more neocaridinas. But we're going to be seeing, I think, more of those because, as I said, more people have, and then here's the CPO, crayfish. Those will be more popular. Now, there's about 10 species of these dwarf crayfish that are not in the hobby yet, and they're going to be more and more popular. Same with crabs and any sort of inverts. They're getting more popular, and they're getting bred in more color types. Again, here's another Siloaceae shrimp, the raccoon shrimp, and now they're starting to breed red, black, brown. They have all sorts of different color morphs now. And we're also starting to get into some less stable but really cool neocaridina morphs like these here. They had the Santa Claus one first. Obviously, there's the really O'Reilly. Well, now they've crossed Snowball also, and they've been able to get white from the Snowball, which is actually not, it's not Neocaridina davidi, but it is Neocaridina zangagensis and palmata, which are different than the original cherry shrimp. And they've crossed them, and so now we're seeing really good green lines. Hopefully we'll see purple soon, but in the next year, I almost guarantee that more and more suppliers are going to carry more and more wild strains of odd and interesting shrimp, because why not? They're easy to care for. Amy Lou, what's going on? I hope you're doing well. Let's see here. Patty is here. Hello. Visine is here. Let's see. Who else is here? Richard McCarthy. Oh, yeah. So it is still raining down here in Seattle, but we have floods. North of us flooded way worse, though. Like even just a few miles. We got 3 or 4 inches of rain one night, but we can handle it because we're on a hill and it just washes out into the Puget Sound. The valleys and farmland north of us did not handle it. They built a berm around the entire city of Mount Vernon to the north of us with about 50,000 people in it. And they expected that there would be a once in a 500-year flood that would be 38 feet above the river line, like the high water mark for the day on a given day, flood stage mark. And guess what? 37.5 feet flooded. Literally another quarter inch of rain, and it would have spilled over. The whole town would have become a lake because it would have just totally overtopped the berms and stuff. Now, that actually occurred up north at the border near Sumas. In this episode, I don't want to get into too much recent news, but my heart and thoughts are both, open and go out to the people up in Canada. There's been massive mudslides about 100 miles north of me up in Canada, where there's, whole freeway of cars were stopped. Side of the mountain comes down. All the cars are gone. The road's gone. Vancouver was cut off the first time since the 1880s. They were cut off by all land routes from the rest of Canada. It's just incredible. Let's see here. Yeah, glitch. Actually, that's another important thing. So another trend that we're seeing, I got my list here. And again, I'm not just pulling these out of thin air. I've been doing the research on what's been selling. Well, we've seen Aquatop, Aqueon, Doe Aqua. We've been seeing less expensive rimless tanks. In fact, right here next to me, we have just that. We have the Aqueons. This I paid like $17 with the light. It would have been like or no, wait, 22 bucks with the light. So, and tax. And without that, the light was only $7 at that store that included lights in the kit. Apparently, I got a lot of letters that some stores weren't including lights, but that's really cheap for a 6-gallon aquarium. The 14 was, I think, 25 bucks. So even the rimless stuff is coming down. We're starting to see better quality glass. It's just the supply lines right now are really messed up, and we don't know how long that will go for. Another thing, Tyler, great point. You know, you guys are hitting it right on the nail tonight. You guys know what the hobby needs next year and in the coming years because you guys are the hobby. You guys experience the same issues and everything. But Tyler was saying that they hope they make better aquarium water parameter test kits, and the strips are iffy too. I agree. Litmus strips, essentially, a few people this year have released cheaper versions of the good old API or whoever you buy. You can buy Petco brand or whatever. Magitarium, I think that's a terrible name. But the API test strips that test for several things, they'll tell you generally if something's in a ballpark. They're not great. They're kind of the oh crap button. Then get out the liquid test kit, then fiddle with things, and then see where you stand. But really, if you know someone with electronic equipment and like where you put a water sample in, that's the best analysis. And speak of the devil, Rachel O'Leary has videos on her channel right now of API's new system, which is a $5,000 box. And you basically take these little things about this big, put your water sample in it, and you put it in there, close the lid, and it gives you a printout of exactly what's in the water, the pH, how much copper, how much iron, how much gold. I mean, every trace element that you can think of. It's essentially shooting a laser through and then reflecting back a wavelength that is unique to certain elements. It's called gas chrome. Well, so if it spins it and vaporizes it into a gas, then it can shine a light through it, just like a fog machine. And when you see lasers at a laser show cutting through a fog machine, when they vaporize it into a gas, it's gas chromatography. The chromatography is the study of the colors that come out of it. And everything has a different wavelength in the universe, but we can actually test what it is. And if you isolate it, that is to say, if the laser takes quick enough pictures and we're getting that reflection back, you'll actually get a readout that says, you know, 2 oxygen molecules, 5 carbon molecules, 1 hydrogen, and a helium or whatever. That's not a, I would guess that's not a real thing, but they are, they're starting to actually get that, where even 5-10 years ago, $50,000 to $100,000 for the GSMC stuff or GCMS stuff. It's gas chromatography, mass spectrometry. And that's how they do urine tests for drugs, like when you apply for a job, or if you go to the doctor and they look test your blood, another major way to do it. So I think we're going to be relying less on the reagent test type things where you add one thing and then another and it turns a color, or you put something on a test strip, and we're going to get better tech. Now, the price will be high at first. The way they envision it is you pay your local aquarium shop something like $5 for a test, or they offer it free. And it's looking like that's their idea, is to only sell it wholesale at first. However, I don't see why they don't just open it up and see what happens. Gianni Sane, hello from Romania. Hello, my friend. Welcome. Bunny Viper, hello. Thingamatorium. I love that name. Thingamatorium. Let's see here. Yes, Richard, I saw that parts of BC got 230 millimeters of rain. 23 centimeters. What would that be? I mean, it's like 6, 7 inches, something like that. Crazy. But it's rough. So I hope none of you guys are in a place that's flooded right now. That is very rough. A citizen's just asking real quick, how long do I leave my lights on per day? I leave most of my lights on 12 hours. 12 hours on, 12 hours off. If it's an aquascape, 6 hours or 8 hours. Now, sometimes I split that. 4 on, 5 off, 4 on again, and then the rest off, you know. So you can split it up as long as it's more than a 90-minute time period that you're splitting, because the plants need, just like we do, enough time to go into basically a REM cycle and be alerted that it's nighttime. But I just did a couple videos on light and plants, and it really depends on your type of plant. But let's keep on with the trends. All right, let's see here. Green beans for plecos, do they need to be canned? Can I just buy... basically, they just need to be soft enough usually. I think canned green beans are best. They're cheapest usually. I mean, you can get them for like 2 cans for $1 or something, and that's like a lot of servings. Zucchini's another one too that you can get for cheap. But, I mean, give it a shot. You're not going to hurt them by trying it out. They just might not like the freezer burn. Because what happens is when you freeze something, the cell walls on plants expand. Now, a cell wall is made out of cellulose, which is a rigid thing. It's not a bouncy, stretchy thing like in animal cell membranes that stretch in each cell. So when you freeze it, that expands it, and it shatters the cell wall. And those shards of ice actually go into pieces of other organelles and other bigger structures than just cells, but they start to rip apart the plant. And so while that can happen to meat and things too, with the ice crystals ripping apart larger structures, it actually happens at the cellular level with fungi and plants. And so my only thing would just be that cooking and or freezing can alter the beans. So pay attention to that more than if it's canned or in a bag or dehydrated or whatever. It's more about if they cooked it or froze it at some point, that you can lose the nutrition slightly in one hand, but also in other hands, if it's like dehydrated, then you can get more bang for your buck, pound for pound, if your fish are willing to eat the dehydrated beans, in that they'll swell up in the tank. So we'll see what happens. What a pocket crocodile is, I have no idea. I would be afraid. All right, goodbye, Jane. Have a good one. So, what else do I think will be happening? I think that we'll be seeing more red variants of Aponegitans. That's just one. But I'm hoping we're going to see more seeds of plants for sale. There's a lot on eBay that are scams, or not scams, but they don't tell you the full story. There's a lot of carpeting plants where you get 10,000 seeds for $3 on eBay or Alibaba. And you order them and then you plant them. You get this beautiful garden of perfect carpeting plants, maybe even without CO2, some of them. But then within 3 to 6 months, depending on it, all of a sudden it melts. And the root system's stuck in there, and there's clumps of stuff that's fouling your water in the soil and under the soil. And then there is the melt off that just causes just a total freaking mess. So it'll crash tanks frequently. And people don't know that when they use those packets of innocuous little seeds from who knows where. They're smaller than poppy seeds. But they're generally of Chinese origin when, you know, if you're ordering them online and then using them. But hopefully they'll be changing that. Yeah, so Dragon Lair, thank you so much, buddy. This is another one that's on the list, which is native fish. If we're talking about what to breed in the coming year, if you can get your hands on native fish that are either colorful or small and not violent, that will 100% sell. Whether that's darters, daces, minnows. I think even Mad Tom catfish may end up being popular. Bowfins in monster fish keeping circles have become popular. Alligator gars, the Florida gar, the spotted gar, all these fish have become very popular in the last 5 years. It was kind of unheard of before that. Now, a lot of people will comment to me, and it's a good point. I mean, I'm glad to see this comment here. Aquarium Library says, I've never seen Petco selling rainbow shiners. Somebody else said even Petco sells them. So what happens at Petco is they have a 5-tier system. And their 5-tier system says that only the stores that sell the most get to order certain fish. Let me get this super chat really quick. Yo, Alex, I killed 10 crypt nuri in a month. Tissue culture nuri sucks. I guess there's no choice but to immerse them off the start. So that's not totally true, but I'm guessing that you've got, oh, tissue culture nuri. Who's making tissue culture nuri now? I'd love to see that. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sorry to hear that. My guess is that your aqua soil and your nutrients may be too intense for it. The only place I've had luck with crypts, like pink flamingo, crypt spiralis, those kind of things, those tissue cultures, unless you're really dialed into with CO2 and babying things with dosages of every separate element, and you make your own formulas and things, the best way to do it is to put it in an old tank, medium light to highlight, like a Fluval 3.0 would be perfect. And then, or a Twin Star EA or S model. And then you just put that in, put it in sand. Then there's not enough anything to really do much of anything. And the roots of the crypts generally are surrounded in this little waxy layer. A lot of times you'll think like, man, why can't I get the last of the tissue culture stuff off this plant? And it turns out, in fact, I can show you that. I have a tissue culture that I was excited about right here that is, hold on. There's hair all over the microphone. But thank you for the super chat, by the way. Much appreciated to the two of you super chatting. Okay, so I have this ADA one, and classy how I opened it. I just squeezed it. But this is actually crypt Willisii and Lucens crossed, hybridized. So crypt Willisii, and so this was about $12. I got it a couple weeks ago. It's been sitting under the light for me, actually. But let me show you what I'm talking about. A good place to plant them. And this is just a side note because tissue cultures will become more and more popular in this hobby too. They already have. That was one of my first. So 5 years ago, that was another thing. Was I was like, Petco's going to start having tissue cultures, and people were like, no way, they'll never do that. Things happen quick these days when they know there's money in it. Yeah, crypt do need potassium. They also need a lot, calcium. They need a lot of potassium too. So if you look at the roots, even after I try to get all the agar or auger off of the out of there that's full of the nutrients and growth hormones and stuff. Sorry, I've got dirt under my fingernails. Been playing in the fish tanks. But even after all that, there's this thin layer that forms around the roots that you just can't wash off on crypts, and it's also on Anubias, Homlamina, and other species. A lot of the species that are rhizomes or don't need to. So in any case, a lot of the rhizome species, a lot of the epiphytes, and then the crypts. But basically, the crypts, that's still nutrients, and it has to be absorbed and grow out. The fish sometimes chew on that, so keep it away from Corydoras and plecos and stuff. You rinse it, obviously. I've got plenty of videos on how to prepare those. But that little thin layer will stay on there. If you plant it in sand or very, very, very depleted soil without any nutrients, then there's no chance of it burning with ammonia. And that's what happens with these undifferentiated cells in tissue cultures, is they get burned by ammonia. Now, they are working on actually synthesizing and isolating some of the auxins and some of the other proteins that occur naturally. And in this, they've usually got like a growth hormone or a triggering hormone, essentially, that tells it to go from submerged to immersed, or that tells it to go from vegetative to fruiting, to be a stem, to be a leaf, because they use a cluster called a callus of undifferentiated cells, and they take a sample of that, and then they hit it with chemicals that say, you're going to be vegetative growth, you're going to be a stem, 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 leaf, leaf, leaf. And that's what determines it. Sometimes in the lab, you get freak occurrences where you get all stem and no leaf or something, or just one like clump of a mutant looking leaf. It's just like tumors when a tooth ends up forming in a human tumor or something. But in any case, they're trying to now pull out what exact chemical sequences, codes, and formulas, and in particular in plants, auxins, which ones send the message of take root, get used to the water. And they're trying to have those ready-made, or maybe even have it be a substrate additive. So that's something that I think we could possibly see in the near future. I think it's a little ways off, more than a year though. But I figured let's talk about it while y'all in chat were mentioning it. All right, let's see here. I'm just reading where y'all got the cryptnuri because I wanted to know. I bought Bunny Viper says I bought a 180-gallon tank for some geos, thread fins, balsanii, EBAs, hecali. I'm using Dragonstone, have good lights. What plants? Bunny, let me get back to you. I can get back to you. If you can message me, I'll hit you back one-on-one, or we can do another stream. But I'm going to try to stick on the topic of trends that are upcoming, because people like to come watch this stream after it's been posted too. But I'll be happy to chat with you about that. And the thing that you have earth eaters might make it a little tricky because they'll dig, but definitely epiphytic plants is a great choice for that. Low maintenance stuff, you got ferns and bulbitis, hedgelata, java fern, mosses, guppy grass, any sort of bulb plants that like water lilies and stuff too usually are tough enough to survive. That's the other thing, is we will probably see more of the water lilies and bulb plants. They're so cheap to have them cultivated in other countries that we're seeing. I've got the example somewhere handy. I thought it was handy. maybe it's not as handy as I thought, but they come in a packet that you guys probably recognize. Oh yeah, here we go. Like these. So this is the red or dwarf or tiger water lily. It'll be one of those. And they sell them 2 bulbs for $4.99 or $5.99 or $8.99, whatever it is, some low amount, and then you get a big plant out of it. Usually, pretty good rates of actually flowering or producing. And then also they're selling these as betta bulbs. But so that's yet again, people are saying, you know, to specialize your marketing. So it's not just an Aponigeton, it's a betta plant. It's plants for bettas, guys. Well, guess what? That means you can add $2 to the price tag. So, I mean, 1, don't fall for that. But 2, actually, Aponigetons are expensive. And the fact this was $5 for 3 bulbs of Aponigetons, as long as they're not the onion plant Aponigeton, which half of the bulbs are in this stupid pack, it's a great deal. I mean, if you get a Madagascar lace, that's a $20 plant, and it can grow from a bulb in even a low-tech dirted tank or you know, aqua soil tank in 2 months from when you get it wet. I love buying these. I'm constantly just throwing them in to see what happens. I mean, just throw them in your sanded tanks or your dirted tanks, your gravel tanks. They'll be fine. And just let them grow. And then if you have a local fish club, sell them later. But because of the other big thing I want to talk about this coming year is we've learned the world is a different place now since the catastrophe. Since 750,000 Americans are dead. We've or however many, 6 if you don't believe that. There's only 6 of them or 5 of them that have died. I don't care. However many you think have died. It's changed the way we do business in this country. And we have seen better sales in the aquarium hobby than we've seen since the early 1980s. Like 84, I think, is the last year that was as good. Fanatical, thanks, buddy. And yeah, so we have seen such crazy growth. A lot of people are joining that don't know that much about the hobby yet, which is great. I mean, that's fine. But we're starting to see a lot of at-home spawning also going on. We're going to have an episode. The other episode I do every year is a look at what were the popular items and fish that we were able to get over the last year, but more so in the next year, what are going to be the hard to find ones? What human issues are going to play a role in sourcing of other things in the hobby? So right now, you know, microchips are at a premium. So the Bluetooth enabled lights, there will be a time in the next 6 months where any of your lights for the aquarium that have microchips in them with communication to smart devices or Bluetooth, there's going to be a lag in that because the sourcing the actual chips, they're only made in so many places in, say, China or Bangladesh or Silicon Valley, wherever it may be. And a bottleneck, and the car dealerships, the computers, the cell phone makers, they'll get those chips before the aquarium light industry. Deb, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate the $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Every penny counts, and it helps me a lot for supplying the fish room with what it needs. All right. So the other thing that you guys have seen me talking about already are the virtues of botanicals. So we talked about how there'll be water treatments, so you can treat it like TDS 100, TDS 200, TDS 300, and it'll tell you how to add X amount to 5 gallons, a cap of this powder in 5 gallons is a calcium carbonate of a TDS, blah, blah, blah. There's kits like that already. There's things like that. But I have a feeling we're going to get more specific, where it'll say like angelfish or betta. They're selling bottled water already that says betta water. What even is that? That's not a thing. It's slight mineral rich water with a low pH or mid-level to low pH. Any case. Or you could just throw a catappa leaf in. Now, for years, catappa leaves, or almond leaves as they're sometimes known, and maybe alder cones, those were kind of known, and everything else was kind of DIY. Not no mo, Aquatic Arts, and a lot of other companies, though, tannin.com, they're selling things like cinnamon leaves. It smells so good. Cinnamon leaves, if they had vanilla beans, I wouldn't put a vanilla bean in my tank, but I mean, geez, smells so good. We're seeing things like the banana leaves, the palm fronds, coconut husks, the lily pods. We're finding it being used as both decor and more visually attractive things aesthetically, but we're also seeing it used for the chemistry end of it. And so I think they'll be making plastic versions of those lotus pods too, or ceramic or whatever. We're also going to see more variety of like pleco caves, more variety of hatching tools and spawning tools, because this whole epidemic caused so many people to either kick up their current hobby into breeding where they never had before, or got them into the hobby, period. And then it happens frequently that people who just are getting into the hobby want to try spawning, want to try this and that, want to have one of every fish and just see how it goes. But I think all those things will be important. And at the same time, the things that will be limited will be teaching us more also. For instance, rainbow fish, Gary Lang brought Seagrass and the farms down in Florida quite a few of the eggs and helped them get established back 3 or 4 years ago. Well, now that's paying dividends. They've finally kind of sorted it out and figured out, okay, here's how we can breed Melitania or whatever, Chilotherania, Running River or whatever, Wapoga red lasers. The ones that were less common, now they're going to be more common. Now, rainbow fish are still a huge section of fish that isn't well represented, but my point is we're starting to see these at the big box stores. Seagrass, Imperial, 5D, different people, they're starting to carry them. The other big thing we're seeing right now is that farmers and wholesalers from regions are starting to sell outside their state. They're starting to sell wholesale direct online. So Aquahuna, Aquarium Co-op has promoted them, and they are who Aquarium Co-op, Aquarium Zen. I could list 15 or 20 stores that buy from them in our, well, basically, it's tri-state, but it's really more like northern Oregon and southern Washington up through all of Washington. But they are kind of one of the main wholesalers, or if not only one, in Seattle, where you can walk in as a shop owner, pick out 100 neon tetras and walk out, and they're $1 a piece now, or 50 cents a piece. Well, now they've extended that offer, or close to that offer. It's not quite as good as the wholesale price, but it's close, to online sales, because it's an easy leap. All you need is a shipping and fulfillment team. So there will be more of that going on, but it's up to us as hobbyists to make sure that we've vetted their processes, that there's transparency, that there's not cruelty, that they're not just a transshipper flipping like day after, next day. If you order fish and they're like, yeah, that'll be ready in a week, and then they send you 5 different species of fish, but none of them even get shipped for 5 days to 2 weeks, they're waiting for someone else to ship it to them, and then they'll ship out everyone's order on the day they get it. Now, that's not always terrible, but oftentimes in that situation, you've got a fish that was caught in the wild, 2 to 5 days to get to a collection center, maybe the first set of deworming and or acclimation, say in Peru or Colombia out there in a mid-sized city but still in the jungle. And then either a plane comes out of there or it goes to the main big city the next day or two. And so you got maybe 5 days to a week out sometimes by this point, with the fish stressed in transit, not eating well. And then we can buy meds. And then you get them out from there to a wholesaler or transshipper. Then they get sold to a local fish store. And then that comes to you. I mean, if that's all going on, boom, 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 talk about a recipe for dead fish. That'll do it. So if we can get more people like they do in the Czech Republic, collectively breeding. So say you have a network of friends on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. You get some rainbow shiners, have them get some green darters or rainbow darters or candy cane darters. You know, some fish that's native and interesting, colorful, small, under 3 inches, under 2.5 inches, and colorful and semi-peaceful. And you breed the heck out of that. I mean, get it down so you have 100 to 300 a month. If you have 5 or 6 friends that are also doing that with one species in particular, then boom, you can start having 5 fish to offer to a store. You can talk with your friends and say, hey, can I have this store in my area? And then you can meet up and get, 100 fish from each of the guys, bring 100 fish for each of your friends or whatever. So more people are going to form collectives like that. That's gone on in Europe since the fall of the Berlin Wall. It's been going on since around 1994 in the Czech Republic, like a few years after the fall of the wall. These local neighborhood fish clubs in Prague and in Hungary, Budapest, and also in former Yugoslavia, in East Berlin, wherever. People started actually in these tower blocks, they would have aquarium clubs, and in the basement they'd have some tanks or some aquaculture. Well, those same clubs then started saying, we're going to breed avatar blue Turkish angels, whatever, pistos. And you get these really good lines of very specialized fish where people have systemically planned that we're going to be the part of town that does this. I'm going to be the one guy known for the best of black rams or purple German rams. And then you have enough of them to sell to a store and actually make some money. You have to price out what they're going to pay for it. They're going to pay at best 1/3 of the label price. That's probably the best you'll ever see. And usually you're going to see less than that. You need to figure out the time, the electricity, the food, everything that goes into raising that fish up. But in theory, there's a lot of opportunities out there to make money, to get them going. And I think the model, since people have been staying home, socially distant, things like that, that we will see more of those things happening. More things like Get Gills and Dan's Fish Room, where people are selling online and specializing. So you can do that and actually make some money. Whereas a lot of times local fish stores, they can get the bread and butter type fish, such as, say, rummy nose tetras. They can get them for 27 cents a piece, sell them for $4.99. Why would they pay you $2 for them? They won't usually. There's a few stores that will give you credit and things, but a lot of stores are not going to pay you the money you deserve for those. But now, the ones that are hard to find, Tinwinny Danios, Hikari Danios, Pseudomagil luminatus, even though you can find those still. Those things are all, they're all commanding up to $10 a piece in Seattle and selling quickly. CPD, Celestial Pearl Danios, they were $4.99 a year and a half, 2 years ago. Now they are going to be $8.99 and up probably most of the time, unless they're itty bitty tiny things. Erythromicrons, rummy nose, rasboras, all the colorful little rasboras, a good number of tetras. Hikari Danios are a newish Danio where the females are yellow and the males are blue, and the and they look different. The genders look different size-wise too. But they were discovered, and Hikari Foods funded the expedition in Thailand and Myanmar, where they were found in that border region. But there's no Latin name officially yet, I don't think, unless they decided on Hikari. But otherwise, I haven't heard anything yet. Yeah, Rico just says he got frickatas, the forktail rainbows, or pseudomagills for $2 a piece. That's a crazy good deal. You got them from a guy, well, a girl. I mean, that's probably what they get wholesale for those, is why they sold them to you that price. But yeah. Yeah, the checks, I'll put this up. So what else do I have on the list as things to breed? Obviously, I mean, there's things like platinum or snow white plecos. They're starting to go for more and more. There will be a time when the bottom of the market drops out, but not soon. Orange laser cories. Buy them for $20 a piece if you have to, but spend $120, get 6 of them, and then spawn them. I mean, they're going to have 30 to 100 eggs that you successfully can spawn, usually, if you know what you're doing. And then, boom, $20 a piece, or even $15 a piece. Be the lowest person in town. Rice fish are another one. Great point, Screaming Fly Productions. We're going to start to see some of those incredible long fin variants. The black variants, the truly red, not orange, but red variants. We're starting to see more and more of those, and we will continue to see more of those. The blue ones, the iridescent ones, the ones that have googly eyes like goldfish. There are over 840 recognized types of Medaka rice fish, of Ortiz latizips, that are in the Japanese Rice Fish Club or organization that keeps track. That's color morphs and variants. I mean, and that's just in Japan. There's more species too. There's another one called the Pseudomagil eversi, I want to say, that is another cool, neat one. It's like a Gertrudii Pseudomagil, but it's not bred that often, and it's kind of a mix between a rice fish and a Pseudomagil. But it's a cool one. Then there's the Indian ones. There's the Daisy's Blues. So those will continue to be popular. More Stiphodon species will be popular, but you can't breed those. So as we said, that's rough. Panda loaches, panda gars, if you can breed them, yes, they would be banging. That's a lot of money, definitely. But good luck. It's very difficult. Only in the last few years has that been figured out. And Aquatics in Florida did it, and so did I want to say it was Aquarium Glauser, but I don't think it is. I think they got some of them, but I think there's a German group doing it too, or at least girl doing it. The other thing we're going to see more of, whether you like it or not, is hybrids. So like the Erythromicron or Emerald Dwarf Rasboras, being crossed with the celestial pearl danios. It causes hybridization, gigantism. Or what are they have another name for it that sounds better than that. It's like hybridization. Vigor? No, I can't remember what the word is. It's escaping me. But it means that the fact that they're mixed genes, they're bigger, just like on islands, how that happens. And so the erythromicron CPD crosses are a bit bigger, and they still have the same great color, stripes on the side, dark blue like a CPD, but they're a little different. Let's see here. Pistos, I think, and other small dwarf cichlids will continue to be very popular, and including the rarer kinds. So if you can find Abacaxis red, or some variation, the Panduro black or blue variants, or purple, just different kinds. The Inca 50 Banshees, the true versions of those, they're very good. And they'll sell for good money. So they do require some work and some thought and time, but they're good money, and they will continue to be into this new year for sure. Definitely. So I recommend, starting off with new guppies. Always are going to be money. That's just a non-changing fact in the hobby. But now the tubbing thing is big. They're going to be counting on it the next few years. In fact, start looking for tubbing-based products, whether it's here's a net for your tub. It's not for your aquarium. It's for your tub outside. Whatever it may be, they're going to start catering to it, just like the betta bulbs. There's going to be outdoor pond water lilies, and it may be the same bulbs they use for a 40-gallon tank or whatever, but it will happen. The other thing they're going to do is match fish by color or theme. So they'll do, like, for 4th of July, they're going to do red, white, and blue male guppies, or mollies or platies, black and white, and then call them yin yang and charge $20 a pair, even though they're both males. I've seen a lot of this in the big box stores. The other thing I've seen in the big box stores is the laser quarries. Are they easy to breed? Not the easiest, but they are fairly easy. They're not one of the hard ones to breed. They are the Aeneas species, and that's what the albinos are. That's what the Venezuela reds are, the purple lasers, the green lasers, the red lasers. There's so many variations of the Aeneas corridora. That's probably the most widespread corridora there is in the hobby / world. And yeah, they are a little more difficult than the normal ones, but they are great. Equus, yes, that's another one. The horsemen or horse corridoras, true steel, or whatever you want to call it. Sometimes they call it gunmetal gray or blue or whatever, but that quarry then with the orange on it, just like the Venezuelan true orange and blue looking quarry, that will be worth money. Anything that's a colorful variety of the same thing we see in our hobby, people how to take, is going to be an instant hit. It may be a bit of a tchotchke, or what do we call it? Corny thing that's a fact, but it is a fact, and that is just the way of life. Now, the other thing that I've noticed is IHSP. You've mentioned like pothos in the garden section, $5 or $6. Okay, Pothos is $5 or $6 in the garden section at stores in the nursery, but then $25, you know, for a plant at the aquarium store. Exactly. I mean, same with, say, silicone or pH test strips. You know how much Aquarium Co-op, fine. I mean, someone did it, and it's brilliant that Corey did it, but he got whatever, like some litmus paper, basically. You used to be able to buy this since the 1950s. You could buy this stuff in a big spool, and you just cut however much you want. You put a little pipette of any wet substance on there, and it tells you the pH by giving you a color. That paper was made en masse by the 1950s and was pretty cheap. By now, it was dirt cheap. So just cut it into test strips and say it only measures pH. Or cut that off and take a little piece and then go get another reagent soaked piece of paper and get all the different, the nitrate, the nitrite. There's no reason those test strips needed to be so expensive. Like, don't go buy these. I got these as a gift, or maybe in an auction at our aquarium club, they were included. But one, if you do, cut them in half, so you get 2 uses out of each one. But they're just notoriously not that accurate. So cut it down lengthwise like this, and then you'll have 2. They'll be skinny, but be careful and it'll work out fine. Oh yeah, beta strains going for $20. There's betas going for $100 in Seattle. Mick says Banshees are quite easy to breed in pH 7, so I'm amazed no one seems to do it regularly in the fish fam. That's so true for so many fish. There are a lot that are easy to spawn. It's just a matter of doing it. So look at what's not at your store. Look at what is not coming in. Anthony, thank you so much, buddy, for the buck. I appreciate it very, very much, brother. But another one is pea puffers and scarlet batis and tin Winnie Daniels. All those were MIA for almost a year because you couldn't collect on the Bangladesh/Myanmar, Bangladesh, India, and Cambodia, Myanmar, Burma, and China border, like that whole stretch there. The Rohingya people are displaced there currently. The Myanmar is in a civil war, essentially. And also just with the epidemic going on, there have been limited flights out. And then there's only so many passenger planes, and those fish need to come overnight in a box and collected from one river in India or whatnot. So pea puffers were in short supply for a while too. So look for those fish that are missing at your store and take note of it. Look into, okay, well, why is this always missing, you know, week after week? Go do reconnaissance and you'll learn what you're missing to breed, you know, figuring that out. Siamese algae eaters, they're going for $10 right now. They used to go for $1.99 or 99 cents for little ones. I don't know how hard those are to spawn off the top of my head, but there's an opportunity there. Autosynclus, they're not hard just to spawn either. Kelly Huff, thank you so much for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. Debbie, also $4.99. Oh, you're killing it. You make me so happy. What was the root cause of blackbeard algae? We have a persistent case in a 56-gallon and tried everything. Well, it usually comes in on something. Now, the other, you know, whether it's a plant, whether it's an animal or a snail, or in the excrement of those said critters, one thing you can do is you can have other algae already in the system. So allow a little bit of diatom, hard algae on the glass. Allow a little bit of filamentous algae. Allow a little bit of staghorn algae or something. But staghorn and blackbeard are pretty hard. So a lot of times it's just the fact that usually there's a little bit in everybody's tank, but sometimes something becomes off and all of a sudden it takes off and dominates, and it's the only algae. So there's no biodiversity and it becomes a monoculture. So, I mean, if you want to know the answer, technically it's nitrates and nitrites and ammonia and phosphates, but it's more, there's more than meets the eye there. But try using either a syringe or a squirt bottle if you can take the decor out. Put 3% hydrogen peroxide in there and just squirt it down. It'll start melting and turning orange, or you'll see it foaming and you'll hear it. If you listen, you'll hear Rice Krispies of it just killing those cell walls. And then you can put it back in the tank. Just turn the CO or the H2O2 or hydrogen peroxide just turns right back into water. I mean, that's the atoms that break apart is into water. Hydrogen and oxygen. Alex, my twins in my Alex, I have my your tin winnies in your goby tank. Lots of spawning behavior, but I assume the gobies are eating the eggs. Would it work to move a pair or two to my shrimp tank? Would the shrimp eat the eggs? No. Yeah, I would highly recommend do that. Do that. Move it to the shrimp tank, especially the adults. You can always move them there for a few days. They're not going to do too much damage. And then all of a sudden they'll lay eggs. The shrimp, more likely than not, if it's a healthy egg, they can't penetrate the egg. It's like a basketball is to us. If you didn't have a knife and fork, I mean, even if you wanted to eat a basketball, what are you going to like? How are you going to open it? And shrimp are kind of in the same boat, honestly, when it comes to that. And so they don't get into the eggs. They eat the rotten eggs and they eat the fungus off the eggs. So they actually help clean the eggs, and that's a trick some breeders have used for years, is certain shrimp species, specifically the Neocaridina. A mono are kind of mean. They can be a little rough, and they do have a rostrum that's got a serrated part. So careful there. What last things did I want to touch on? Let's see here. That was that question there. So, Alishon, hello. Fishymon, hello. What's What's in the cooler? Lord Bonked Cage? Hello. All right, guys. If you haven't hit that like button, don't. Just don't. Forget it. I've waited this long. Just forget it. You guys don't even care. You guys make me want to sing loud, sing proud. I don't know what I was gonna go after. Oddball fish will continue to be a popular thing because we all love them. We all live in a yellow tangerine. Oh, wait, submarine. The other thing, last thing I'm going to comment on in the trend report for 2022 is going to be, I've been seeing these already coming up in some of the Petco stores. Now, I like that Petco Smart have a tier system, I believe, and if you work there and know a different truth, tell me. But the people told me at my local Petco that they sell $40,000 a week or whatever the quota was. So they're considered tier 2 out of the 5, with 1 being the highest tier, and I think it being $50,000 a week or something in sales that the store does. And when they do that, they open up and they can order from 5 or 6 different suppliers of fish, and it's up to the person So yeah, I mean, it's like a different store altogether. It's sad. I mean, a lot of the Petcos, either in a small town or where there's a PetSmart right across the street, a Petco, and a local fish store in the same town, and that's the end of the story. You're finding that the Petcos are kind of dropping the ball there, in that they, a lot of times, they're tier 5, tier 4, and they can only order in like bettas in a cup and 100 species of fish, whereas they have now caridina, tangerine tigers, rainbow shiners, different rainbow fish. And that's another note. Go look and see if the wrong fish got stuck in there. I've found some Fongzi rasboras, which are hard to find one. I've found them before in with the glow light rasboras at a local big box pet store. So get to know your fish, keep your eye out, go to those stores, look for the trends, look for what's out of stock. Maybe even keep a note. If there was something you wanted and it's out of stock, keep a note of it. But it's up to what tier your store is. And so call and ask them if you need to, even like what ordering class is your aquatics department in. And it determines even like the frozen food they can order in, all sorts of stuff. It's pretty crazy. But topiaries, topiaries are the other thing they've been selling, and that's like basically like wireframe moss and wire bunny ears, or a star, or a Santa hat, you know, with Christmas moss or willow moss or something like that. And now they're doing that for every holiday. There's a jack-o'-lantern or a bat or something, or a skull for Halloween at Petco. Then there is it Petco or PetSmart? Might have been PetSmart. And then they've got little bridges that are made out of wire that have moss or swassertang hanging off of them. More of the tchotchke stuff, more of the living stuff is going to be included. Now, to me, it's getting more plants in the tank. It's always a good end result. So I don't think it's a bad thing or anything. Also, I just confirmed just now that Lawrence Kent, my good friend, is going to talk about collecting in conflict zones with us on a live stream. So I'm really excited about that. He's a busy guy, and usually he gets paid good money to travel places, to speak all around the world. He's collected in Southeast Asia, in freaking like Mongolia, you know, just all over the place. And he just read that that he will be he's up for doing a live stream talking about collecting in a conflict zone, and some of his not all of his tricks, but some of his tricks for collecting on the fly, or when you're having to travel light or whatnot. So I'll let you know when that's ready, or when that's going on. But hopefully soon. Hopefully very soon. So did I have anything else on my list? Oh yeah. Unusual snails are going to be more popular too. But the other thing is, in Europe, hey, Patricia Powers, Dragon Lair, in Europe, they've been getting more and more of the native North American fish. Sunfish, some people in Germany and the Czech Republic, they're starting to actually kind of look at them as almost like discus. The markings, they're breeding them. And you can see why. They're incredibly beautiful. We don't see them maybe that much so. Maybe we see them as trash fish you'd throw back if you're an angler or something. But we're starting to see more and more cold water species being looked at differently, and so I hope that continues to grow. The other one, I covered all of these things. Oh, unusual snails. So Bantam and Batman. They're two different kinds of snails. Pagoda snails, chopstick snails, mocha snails, cappuccino snails, horned nereids, non-horned nereids. That was the whole thing, obviously, when we just did this. These snails here, brand new species. These ones look like avocados. Those ones look like strawberries. So keep an eye out for the wild class snails and wild class shrimp and wild class even less colorful minnows, even stuff that's not the biggest brightest fish out there. The other thing that, along with the topiaries, will probably be sold more so in the near future are these planted walls, or at least planting racks that you can use on the wall that have a light mounted to it. I foresee that happening in the next year, and that being big to have a living wall. And because of that, I think some of the plants in the hobby will see more of not aquatic plants, not truly aquatic plants, but really more of the ferns and homlomena and things like that that are not true aquatics. Just like we're seeing aquatics art starting to do crabs. There's new hermit crab species that just came out of Venezuela that are incredibly cool. There's land crabs in Christmas Island and all over the world, really. So a lot of these unusual critters, we're going to start sourcing more of them from afar and getting into more remote places. That's a long-term change we're going to see, and it's still going to be niche, but we'll see that. I don't have a sense yet, other than I know platinum is going to be hot and black or melatonistic are going to be popular versions of things. Like if you could get a melatonistic scarlet batis that still had some blue and a little bit of red, but it was jet black other than that, people would want that, you know? So those types of rare mutations happen more and more the longer they're in captivity and being spawned. You want a coconut crab as a pet, I would be terrified. They can like open cans of soup with their claw, just like crush open mine. It's mine now. But yeah, so we'll see what color is kind of hot this year. I think the iridescence on fish and live bears is going to be very popular again. But I think there's kind of this return to nature in a way. Like it may be new to us, but it's going to be a return to something new from nature as important or popular in the hobby in the next year. So I hope breaking this down for you helps. We can talk more about specifically like what to breed, what makes sense to breed. Oh, you could keep all these 10 fish together in a community tank, then have 2 tanks on the side for fry and rotate out. That's what I do. Then grab those tuna McGills from the tank, grab the gouramis from the tank, and each week or 2 weeks, you prep them in the community tank, fatten them in the community tank, then maybe take them female or male away so that there's just one gender in the tank. And then you come and move that in with the other one, leave them alone for a day to 5 days or a week or however long, depending on the fish. And then remove the adult fish back to the main tank, and you got baby fry in the other tank. That system, which I so enjoy, I hope that I can teach that to more people and we can get more varieties of unusual fish getting bred. Not in huge numbers, not making tons of money. This isn't a big business operation idea. This is just a way to keep endangered species going, to keep the HAP species, BAP species going with plants and animals. So, and I also think lights, we're going to keep seeing advances in how good they are, as well as camera phones and things like that that help us stream a live podcast on the internet. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to get out of here, but it's been my pleasure to chat with y'all. I hope everybody has a good night. Hit that like button if you haven't yet. I would appreciate it greatly. If you like this. If you don't, then don't do that. Don't listen to me. If you don't like me and then you listen to me, man, you're a conflicted person. So, all right, guys, I really appreciate it. Lurkers, super chatters, thank you so much. Mods, thank you so much. People with questions, people without questions but are here with a good vibe. All of you guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I think I'm gonna take a nap. I've been having a little trouble getting my medication that I still need to get since my head injury, the testosterone, and so I get real tired and worn down after these. To me, it's exciting talking for 2 hours or whatnot. So I hope though that this list helps a little bit and gives you some guidance. If you can think of more things that you think will be broad trends or even a specific species or fish trend, please leave that in the comments for me. I'd really like to look over that later, honestly. So that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote. She didn't write no more. She didn't write no more. And I don't care if it rains or freezes, as long as I got my plastic Jesus sitting on the dashboard of my car. Driving 90, I ain't scary, 'cause I got the Virgin Mary stuck right to the dashboard of my car. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye now.